sense to me because the facts are so intertwined. The basis for her EPO was the assault for DV allegations. I think for judicial economy, and seeing as this has been going on for almost 2 years, with his motion to join, I think that at this point, it's only appropriate for us to join these two cases together and to hear them today.
Thank you. Ms. Nutt.
Your Honor, I understand Ms. Borders brings up a motion for a joinder. I never filed a motion for a joinder. I am unaware if Mr. Clack filed that pro se at some point. There was a period of time where he was filing his own motions before he was represented, and I think he even filed a few after he was represented, but we've never had a FREDA hearing. If there is a motion that has been filed for a joinder, I didn't make that motion. I don't know of the motion having been made. Now, I know that there was some discussion, and I had conveyed to Ms. Borders at one time that I thought that we should do separate trials, and that was what I was going to advise Mr. Clack, but that we weren't quite on the same page with that, so I wasn't sure. But I think that these were separate cases. They are separate cases. They're two different case jackets. They happened on different days. And I think that I didn't have any kind of burden to make a motion to sever because they were severed and they were never joined. So it wasn't like these were both charged on the same case. There's two different case jackets. They were never joined. As far as I know, there was never actually any motion to join them. Now, like I said, I may be wrong about that. Maybe Mr. Clack filed that. I'm not aware of that.
Do you want to briefly respond to that? Did he file a written motion, or was it just kind of discussed?
I think it's been discussed multiple times, Judge. And to be quite frank, there was a different prosecutor on this case before me, and there's been many, many, many pro se motions filed. And so I don't have that physical motion in front of me. But again, this has been our understanding from day one that we are going forward on both these trials today. The first I've heard about a possible separation was yesterday.
Well, I would, I think, disagree. I know that I have said before that I wanted separate trials. And I know that Mr. Clack hasn't always been on that same page as far as wanting separate, and he understands that there needs to be a FREDA hearing if he's to make any arguments on his own over here, and there's not been that. But, you know, I do think that it's appropriate for, I mean, I don't think it is appropriate for joinder, and the reason is partially because of the nature of the second offense, which is the violation of the EPO. The EPO was issued, I think that their case will be that he was served in jail with the EPO. The fact that the EPO was issued at all seems to lend credibility to the first case, which is the assault case. So he's charged with domestic assault based on the facts of the domestic assault allegation. Ms. Patrick went and got an EPO. It was signed by a commissioner. It was served allegedly on Mr. Clack while he was in custody. And that, I think, is suggested to the jury that somebody, either a judge or somebody, has looked at that case and has decided that those facts are true, or else the EPO never would have been issued. So I think that's problematic for joinder to be.
Right. Hold up, Dr. Wonder. I can hear everything they're saying when I say there's these speakers, and I can't figure out how to turn them on.
But yes, Your Honor, so I do think that in addition to it being the fact that this wasn't one incident where I think that I would be on the same page with the county if the case were that there was an outstanding EPO, that he'd been served with an EPO, and then he was accused of assaulting Ms. Patrick, but that's not what we have here. We have a case, and so those would have been brought together. The EPO violation and the assault would have been together on the same case originally. Here we have where there's an assault, although that would still be prejudicial because of the nature of the accusation of the EPO, which already suggests that someone believes the allegations at least enough to have issued the protective order to begin with. And so I think that with the jury, you know, we talk about all these different standards, but number one, I don't know how they intend to introduce the EPO, because if they introduce it in such a way that the jury is not aware of, you know, what the standard is, you know, the fact that Mr. Clack doesn't get to be heard before an emergency protective order is issued. The fact that, it's not issued, in this case at least, it wasn't issued by a judge, it was issued by a commissioner. The fact that, there's very little due process